All right, guys, Tyler here. We got a special treat here today. As most of you guys have seen now, my Onix glove review. The man who actually invented Onix and is a world-renowned striking coach, Trevor Whittman, has allowed us to ask him some questions here. And so, Trevor, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, my brother.
All right. So first off, Trevor, I thought it would be important to kind of ask you about your background. And where, how you got into this and a little bit about your transitioning from, fighting into coaching.
Really, as a child, I was passionate about all martial arts, and I was into ninja movies, and I loved it all. It was funny because I wanted my parents to send me to Japan because in the ninja movies they had those, ninja schools, and it's just funny. I was passionate about it, man. Every part of it. I loved the acting from the scenes, Bruce Lee and his theories behind his words, and just it was really growing when I was young. And then moved out to Connecticut and started boxing, got my ass kicked, and decided I wanted to do boxing because I was very successful as a point fighter, and that boxing was a complete different thing. So I boxed and boxed for many years, and then faced an injury, and then got into coaching at a very young age, at age 20.
And then from there on out, and then how did you get into the mixed martial arts aspect of it?
Well, Dwayne Ludwig was going to be fighting Jens Pulver, and he had asked me to train him, and he knew Jens was a good boxer, so I had some world champion boxers at the time, and he asked me if I could help him out, and that was back in 2003 or something.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
Yeah, it was cool. So we were going to go up to Canada, and then Jens ended up pulling out of the fight for something, and then Dwayne had a kickboxing match and asked me to corner him, so we had a kickboxing fight, and then we were able to face Jens, and from that point, he linked me up to Neymar Court, and then it just kind of went from there. I had my first fight with in the UFC was Neymar Court versus Ivan Salisbury.
Oh, crazy! And then I know you've worked with everyone from Shane Carwin to I know you're currently working with Rose. Congratulations, by the way, on that big win. That was a nail biter of a fight, man. I was watching that, and it was just such an amazing fight. And then for me, how Rose took that fifth round with the takedown at the end to seal it up was just an amazing fight. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So real quick, I wanted to ask you, obviously, while you're here, tell me about the. Oh, and by the way, I'm actually wearing right now my Boss Rutan inspired Bang Muay Thai T-shirt.
Nice.
Yeah. I thought I'd throw that on for you. So I know you two are buddies. So anyways, tell me about the Origins of Onix. Where it came from, what started the idea, how did this all come to?
Well, it all came to for the sense of, working with guys like Shane Carwin and, the world champion boxers that I had. Just through the years, I was getting beat up, my arms, my shoulders. So I started, cutting mitts open. And it's funny, I was looking through some pictures when I sold my gym back in November 2016, and I was going through pictures, taking them down off the wall, and I realized how long ago it was that I was cutting mitts open and then relacing them, because the picture had me and Vernal Phillips, one of my boxing champions. You could see my Timberland laces on the mitt.
No way.
And I'd go and go to all these different foam fabric stores and get foams and make them the way I thought they could be, where they'd be somewhat soft to keep the shock from happening, and then add some dense foams to keep the bone-on-bone from happening, and changing the weight on them. And it's funny, but I think that was 2005.
Wow.
I've been just kind of breaking things down from that point, but fighters who had injured hands, like Vernal, for instance, so we would use a shell toe. He had a bruised middle knuckle that just always bothered him. So we would cut a shell toe shoe apart, and the front part of the shell toe, or the shell part, would go on the back of the hand, and then the other part would go across the front, and I'd cut a space out for that middle knuckle, so
wow,
that hard rubber on all the other knuckles, and then I'd put a real soft foam on that middle knuckle, and it allowed him to throw full punches, and his middle knuckles, since he was hitting with that rubber on all the other knuckles, it wouldn't have any contact to that middle knuckle, so he was able to train fully through training camps for fights. And I always just think that way. What can we do? Anytime there's a problem or an injury, how do you cater to it to get them into the fight? Because if they're not fighting, they're not getting paid. And fighters will take fights no matter what. I mean, when you got promoters promoting the fight and all the money into it, the managers are doing their job and getting sponsorships, and trainers doing their jobs. Fighters don't want to pull out of fights. So I was always catering to those things, but I was always in search. I was a equipment fanatic. Like, anytime new equipment come out, I'd be like, "Oh man, I'm ordering this," and it was like, being a bad kid in Christmas. You get this thing, you think it's gonna be so cool, and when you get it, you're like, "Oh my god, what is this?" And just through the years, it's funny. I was telling one of my mentors about a story. Well, I used to snowboard professionally back in the day. When snowboarding was very brand new. So I've been snowboarding since like 88.
Wow.
And so as the time, so if you think about snowboarding and MMA, they're very similar on the length they've been around.
Yeah.
MMA, got big with the UFC, and UFC came on the scene about 1993.
Yep.
And so I've been in the game for a long period of time, and this is in boxing too. You think about boxing, what's the last technology they've created? What the attached thumb, all we used to be able to run around with is throwing a thumbs up after fights.
Yep.
And they attached the thumb so you didn't get the thumbs in the eyes, and also broken thumbs. So there's really no new technologies going on. And here in snowboarding, I snowboard every year, and I'm seeing all these new technologies coming out from when I used to ride. I used to wear Sorel. Then they got boots, and then they got the bindings got better because my ankles used to hurt. The boards got lighter. I mean, everything was just changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
From a technology aspect, and man, I was like, someone's got to change this. So one day I just got my mom's sewing machine, and I was like, I'm going to try to make myself a pair of mitts, and made myself a pair of mitts, and all the coaches in the gym wanted a pair, so I started testing mitts with different coaches, and then all of a sudden these high-level coaches are seeing my mitts and putting them on, and they're like, oh man, let me put one on. And it's funny, you think about just where the sport is on evolution of athletes. I mean, we've got the best athletes in the world out here, and you can see that evolution in the last 5 years in MMA. The guys who've been around for a long period of time are having troubles hanging with these, true athletes that are coming into the sport, because the sport's growing. And for me, I'm like, mitts don't even have a left and a right. Put them on either hand, and to me that is just like, my left hand is so different than my right hand, and it's just a pain of trying to squeeze my hand together, keep the mitts on, and you have to break them into your right and left hand. It's crazy to me. So I decided to start a company, and didn't really have a name for it in the beginning, and I was making custom gear, all sorts of gear, and I couldn't keep up. I was a year out on orders, and had to raise the price for them just because the time it took and the amount of orders I was getting, and that didn't hold anything back. So it kind of proved the need for premium. And this is the contact sport of all contact sports. And again, there's a huge white space. So I jumped in and used my experience to kind of change the equipment the way I thought it should be, and then also through high-level athletes and coaches getting their feedback. And that's one thing that's just been a blessing to me, is the amount of feedback that people give me just for, ideas and things like that. But we released our first product, which was the glove, and I felt like the glove was the most needed. Like, we haven't released even mitts yet, just because the amount of fighters compared to coaches. Coaches coach on average 5 to 25 athletes. So we chose the glove. I felt like that was the most needed product. And I always had an idea on how to support the wrist and the hand better and make better fist positions. So the X Factor glove was the first glove that we released, and we sold out 3 times in a row.
Well, I understand why. Yeah, I understand why. I know you've seen my review of Onix gloves, and I was just absolutely blown away by this glove. Anyone who follows this channel knows I have a crap ton of gloves, and I've reviewed all different kinds, from Winnings to what else do I got? I got Winnings. I've got a new glove by Haymaker. What am I currently rocking right now? I'm actually looking because I can't think off the top of my head. I got some top boxers. I've had Hayabusa. I've had all different kinds of gloves, and I really fell in love with this glove. And one aspect of it that I really liked, the wrist protection, and that I forgot what you called it. It's the X something system. What was it called?
That's the technology. That's the patented technology. Is the X Factor strap.
Okay, so
you have the one that has the straps, and the straps from the pointer knuckle and pinky knuckle back across the wrist, which how you wrap your hands, crossing the back of the hand, putting the metacarpals. But the key to this is how do you support the metacarpals, which is the most common breaks in fighting. How do you support that? And that was kind of my way. I used to pinch gloves in pro fights, and then they stopped allowing the pinching of the gloves. So let's say 10 years ago. And the pinching was good because you pull it up higher on the glove, and then you tie the lace, and it would pinch down on the back of the wrist. And I was trying to figure out how we could fix that, because the commission's reasoning behind it, which is very good reasoning, was there's no crease there, and with not having a crease there, if a fighter starts moving their hands a lot, then the tape rolls back, and then the laces become exposed. So then you have to stop the fight and retie them and retape them. So I totally understand their perspective on that. So that's why I created a lace-up glove also that has the laces running throughout the whole glove, so you can adjust the glove to your hand size. And if you think of gloves, it's like a shoe. It's, if you put gloves are weighed by ounces, and if you're competing, you're doing 8, 10, 12. When it comes to like a kickboxing or boxing fight, you have this glove on that's not sized. It's put on and it's weighed by the ounce. So if you have a different width hand, and it sucks because you have this workable space inside your hand. Even for like 16-ounce gloves, I have small hands and 16s when I spar. Hated having gloves on because they were so big. There's so much dead space inside the glove.
Yeah.
Me putting on Shane Carwin's shoe and trusting that I can hit it at full speed. I mean, that's crazy. So, I wanted to create something that would not only help support and help better fit position, but also help in the sizing department where you can actually, fit the glove to your hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and one of the other things that, because a lot of the questions I got from this glove, I saw from the video you did with Rashad Evans about that Anatomy of a Fighter video, and now part of this also, you have real genuine leather, and then there's composite leather. It's composite leather, correct?
Yeah, so the composite that we're using it's shredded up leather, but it's sealed from both sides, and it's unterrible. It's so funny because I had Jeff and Gaethje in the shop, and I cut it. I try to do this to everybody, but Jeff was the best. I cut a slice in it with a pair of scissors, and I took leather too, and I was like, cut a slice in it. I was like, rip this for me. And it's already got like an open, so he pulls on both sides, and he's sitting there just trying so hard to rip it. This kid is. I can't wait to get in front of Shane again and see if he can rip it. You can't rip it. So if a glove, for some reason, sparks a hole in it, it's not going to continue to tear. It's not going to continue to fall apart. And it's cool because going into the full part of the glove, the reason why I put the leather on the knuckles and the thumb is just it's what people know. I mean, people think leather is what you got to have, and it was the consumers that made the decision which material was better. And I don't want to just come in here and change and be like, oh, this is what's needed, and act like I know everything. I want to involve people. So everybody who bought gloves, I always reach out and ask what's going on and what part of the material is breaking down faster. Can you send me pictures? And we have that warranty program, so if we ever have a glove come back, we've had 2 pairs come back, and I get to cut them, and we send them a brand new pair, and because I want them to last for the year of what, like if you're buying a premium glove, they should last at least a year if you're using them. So when we get the gloves back, I cut them open, and I look at the materials and make sure everything's looking right, just so I can get better with what I'm doing, because I'm new to manufacturing, and I'm doing this all myself, so...
Yeah.
Leather, I always have hated leather for the sense that leather, if you think of like leather is a premium product made for design and fashion. It's like made for handbags and jackets, but you can't wear a jacket out in the rain with leather.
Yeah.
You Leather
No, for sure.
Water. So if you have sweaty hands going into leather, first off, it's going to change the weight of your glove because it takes on water. You can only feel it from the outside because the underneath is like a suede. So the underneath just takes on water. That's what causes all the foam to break down, because if you got wet leather that doesn't dry out, then you start getting bacteria building up in there, and bacteria is horrible for staph infections and ringworm and all the stuff that goes around gyms. And to me, again, so I use snowboarding a lot. Snowboarding, they got materials that, completely waterproof. They last forever, and you got these plastic and metal bindings that are rubbing into them all the time. So I started searching through, the snowboard industry to try to find the best material I could find that wouldn't change weight, would last long, and be functional for the gloves, and not carry the wetness into the foams.
Interesting. Now the foam itself, I wanted to talk to you about that, because it was so funny when I got the glove. I reached out to you and I was like, man, this glove is stiff. And I didn't notice in the box that there was instructions about the heat moldable foam. And so when you were like, why don't you look back in the box? And then, of course, there they were. I was just so excited to get the gloves that I just pulled them out without looking. But the foam itself, talk about the heat moldable foam and your idea behind that and how that came to be.
Yeah, so that's another thing that we're really doing with the gloves. And the one thing that I'm doing is that I hate doing things like other people. I always want to think differently and just kind of come outside the box. Is I don't want to market all these different things on a fence. And me and my mentor were talking. It was like, I can go there and promote on my website, hey, heat moldable foam, and to me that's like a sales ploy. It's like I want people to kind of feel what's going on, and make the decision for themselves. So that's why I put it in the box and really don't talk about it. But the heat moldable foam, I mean, it's high level stuff. So when you put it on, the first thing it does is break down the foam. It breaks it down to give you a broken in feel, and it softens it up instantly. And if you like your hand to turn over more, you heat it up and then kind of work it in to get more turnover. If you like a really stiff glove, like a Hayabusa has kind of a stiff back, you can heat it up and not do a lot of work in with it. Just kind of make your fist compartment. But with that going on, it should fit your hand. So that was one of the main reasons why I used that foam. And the foam that we're using, we are testing the foam with impact. So making sure that the hammer is not going to, make a sound on wood when you're hitting through it through a certain amount of layer. Because if you're going bone to bone, that's what causes cuts. And in training, you don't want to have that. So for our training gloves, we want to make sure that we're not causing cuts, and also the knuckle bruises like I was talking about with Vernal.
Yeah, it's amazing when I use this glove. I mean, this is a glove that's so versatile. Like, this could be used for a bag glove. Obviously, it can be used for sparring. It's weighted, in my opinion, it's just weighted perfectly. I love the feel of this glove. And it blew me away when I started using it. Now, one last quick question about this. I was curious. First off, I love the grip bar on this glove, but the webbing that's right above the grip bar. Can you explain that to me?
So the webbing, we wanted I was testing materials, and I used a very dense.
And I'm showing here.
Never tear.
I'm showing them real quick what I'm talking about. So sorry to continue.
Yeah, so that the material on the inside, I know the webbing you're talking about, and I'll get to that, but the material on the inside, we used a very, again, unterrible type of material, because I hate when a glove rips up by your fingertips and all of a sudden foam starts coming out every time you throw a punch. And me being a gym owner for so many years, that was one of my biggest pet peeves, was cheap gloves that break down, and then after classes you're sweeping up the little foam balls that are everywhere around the mat. It just drove me crazy. So I was like, I'm never going to have the inside tear. And we have moved on from that material just because it was so dense. I knew it would take on a little bit of water, but I wanted to test it. And so I used that webbing just to kind of open up some breathing towards the fingertips. And we have changed that. We went back just to the composite, but we're on the inside material. We're using a very tough Lycra that is, to me, way smoother, way easier to get on if you prefer to use hand wraps. But it's got a better feel. And again, that's just through testing and also feedback that I've got from consumers. Consumers are saying the gloves are starting to smell a little bit. And again, what does that come from? That comes from not being able to dry out.
Yeah.
So we're just making adjustments. And I mean, that's my goal is just to continue to evolve the glove. You know, I'm new to this in a sense. I mean, so many people tell me, hey, man, this is like the best glove. I don't look at it as the best glove. I just think it's a great glove. And, you know, I'm trying to perfect the process, but I'll never be perfect, and the glove will never be perfect. Just want to continue to listen to the consumers, listen to the users, and then also, you know, trust my experience on what we're doing and work together on every time we come out with a glove. It's going to be a new model.
Yeah, and so you know, the last thing here I just want to talk about, you know, the future for Onix. Now, I know you had mentioned that you have the lace-up gloves, and I've seen the pictures of those on the Instagram. And by the way, guys, you can check out the Instagram handle. What is it? Onix? What's the Instagram handle?
It's just ONX Sports.
ONX Sports. So let's talk about the future. You got the lace-up gloves. I've seen you using the headgear on TJ Dillashaw. What else you got in the future for us?
We got shin guard, knee pad combo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's very, very cool. That's being patented right now. Also, the headgear is being patented. So that's why we haven't released it yet. But, dude, people have been going crazy about the headgear. I mean, the technology foam that we're using in there, you've probably seen the foam. You know, I've seen it on Shark Tank, I think, before, where they drop like a large, almost like a pool cue ball on a eighth of an inch thick of foam, and it feels like massive foam, super soft. And when you drop it, it won't break glass underneath it, because what happens is, like water, the faster you hit water, the more it distributes laterally. So the faster you contact this thing, it distributes the contact, you know, laterally instead of through it. And it's super cool because I can make the headgear eighth of an inch thick around the whole skull, and then I add another quarter inch on the brow bone, forehead, because that's what causes most of the cuts, is the headbutt. And then the cheek protectors, and with that soft technology foam that we're using, it just sticks to your head, it doesn't move, and you can grapple with it. So if you get a choke, it doesn't feel like a huge headgear. And then a huge thing, too, is the vision. Like, you're not blocked with vision. You don't feel like you have this big old piece on your head, and you got normal size head, and you put on normal headgear, and then you become Jupiter.
Yeah.
With your head, so all of a sudden you're taking more punches. And just my experience with headgears and kind of what's going on with headgears, you have the Olympic boxing that's going with headgear and then taking away the headgear and testing it, and all the philosophies coming out that headgear, you know, protects you from a boxing standpoint, but no, it doesn't, cause more concussions. This is my theory on how it works. You got to think about what causes concussions. It's rotation and linear. And if you have a bigger head, first off, you're taking more punches. You're not able to flip the shots. In some shots that you would be able to flip. Your vision is blocked, so you're getting hit with shots that you're not seeing. So that's a huge thing, because you're not able to brace for the punch. So the shots that you don't see coming are the ones that cause a lot of the rotational damage when it comes to concussions. And another thing is the weight. If think about it this way, if you take a kid to the park and they got those little animals that are on those springs, my kid can get on that little animal and like barely move back and forth. They kind of bounce side to side. And
Yeah.
Them. If I get on it, which, you know, I'm always being crazy and being stupid for my daughter, I'll get on there and it bends all the way back, and I'm almost touching the ground and I can't come back up.
Yeah, it almost slingshots you off of it.
Yeah. It flies back up. But if you think about like weight on your head, if I take a shot and I've got weight on my head, it's making my neck weaker. Like, my neck has to be stronger to be able to hold that up, so it's causing more damage. But also, what are the benefits of the headgear, and why was headgear made back in the day when these guys were fighting 200 fights as prize fighters? It was the people who had money invested in them, and these guys were fighting every week or every other week to be able to get 200 fights. And the issue was, when you're sparring with guys in inside boxing or head-to-head, they cause and cut, also the cauliflower ears. So you remember the headgears used to be really big on the forehead, almost like a cone shape upside down, like huge on the top, real thin on the bottom.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason why it was made, was to stop the cut. And another huge reason that no one talks about is the hands. It hurts the hands to hit the forehead. It's like hitting a bowling ball.
Yeah.
You know, and hitting a bag, you know, if you hit a hard bag, it hurts your hands sometimes. And if you hit a forehead very, very hard, you're going to bruise your knuckles and hurt your hands. And if the prize fighters' hands were hurting, they can't fight every week or every other week. So I want to use those philosophies on why they created a headgear, but also help out what is causing the damage. So that was one of the big kind of key points I went into on going, all right, I never look at it as a problem. I get excited about the problem. And I'm like, all right, what's the solution? So, I mean, that's just been so much fun for me. I almost get geeked out about, trying to look for the solutions and create those ways. So I had to look for technology foams, and I had to just look for a design that would work. And it's so cool because the amount of people in the MMA world who have reached out to me for that headgear.
Hello? Well, did we lose him? Hello? Wow, that's weird. Trevor, did we lose you? Well, we're going to have to recall him. Well, that sucks. Well, not quite sure what to do here. Oh, here we go. Now we got it to redial. This is our ghetto setup here.
Hello?
Hey, I don't know what happened there.
Did I bore you?
No.
I'm just messing with you. I can hear you, but you couldn't hear me.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking at the screen here going, oh, man, this is bad. So, okay, yeah, we're almost done anyways, Trevor. So what were you finishing with?
I was just saying that, figuring out the issues, the funny part about the headgear that how it came out was TJ was cut. He got cut. Dwayne Ludwig called me and said, hey, Trevor, he's got a fight coming up in a few weeks, and he needs to continue to train. Can you make something up for him? So I went and sized up his head, and 2 days later had a headgear for him so he can continue to fight. And he was blown away by it. It's created a big buzz.
Sweet. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time, and so we got the headgear, the shin guards with the knee pads coming out. I'm sure it's going to make a splash because the video I did for your Onix gloves is the biggest video I've done. It's got over 4,600 views, which is big for my thing. So I really think this is making a huge splash in the combat sports world. So I appreciate you taking the time. I'll cut the video off and then I'll talk to you on the side here. But thanks again, guys. Thank you, Trevor, for taking the time. Guys, if you have any questions, throw them in the comment box. I'm sure Trevor will read them and he may be able to answer some of them if possible. So yeah, thanks again, guys, for checking in.